guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to find an accommodation as an international student. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. So it is important to know what type of accommodations do you get here in Australia. So you get student accommodations, private rental accommodations, homestays, and temporary accommodations like Airbnb, hostels, dormitories, and etc. So when you first come to Australia, or if you're finding an accommodation from your home country, you have to remember that you should find a shared apartment or you should find housemates. That will actually help you to share your rent. It's easier and cheaper to live like that. Then you should actually join few WhatsApp groups before coming here. There are a few groups available, so what you can do is on Instagram or Facebook you can find people who are actually living in Melbourne or who are international students. You can just request them to share few WhatsApp group links with you and you will be added in those groups. You just have to put out small message that I'm looking for accommodation or flatmates, and they'll definitely reply back to you. There are also a few Facebook groups like Ferry Floss or Ferry Flats, few international student groups in Victoria, and a lot of those type of groups where actually people share their houses and if they are on rent or they're up for lease. So you should keep an eye out on these two options and find your housemates, or directly find a house which already is finding a person for one single room which is vacant. There's also this one website which is called as Flatmates Finder. It helps you to find housemates of your same wavelength, and you can just share your bio and they will also share it as well with photos, hobbies and everything, and you can find your match. So these are basic questions that you can ask your flatmates or potential housemates to know if they are actually of your sort. So first question is, how often do you clean your space? Second question is, do you have any difficulty in paying rent? Are you falling short of money? Do you have family support for any financials? Third question is, how social are you? Do you have any weekend plans? Or in the evening, what kind of routine do you follow? Do you chill? Do you drink? Do you have friends over? Fourth question is, do you cook or do you plan to have any pets in the house? And fifth question is, how long do you plan to stay here? So after people answer these questions, you'll be fine to rent a house with them. So here's a tip when you are planning to come to Australia, that if you're finding a house while sitting in your country, supposedly India, you do not rent out or you do not commit your landlord with a longer lease. Keep it month-wise or 3 months or 2 months. Don't make it 6 months or 1 year, because you will come here and only then you will find your job and you will know how much time does it take from your place to your job or from your place to your university. So I'm going to attack this entire video according to the types of accommodations I've just suggested. So the first things first, I'm going to talk about student accommodation. I personally have never lived in student accommodation because according to me, I do not have that many uni classes. So if you are someone who has a lot of uni classes in a week, more than 1 or 2 times, I would suggest you to go with on-campus accommodation. It will be easier for you to go directly to your class. You won't waste time. But if you have longer work hours and less uni hours, I would suggest you to go with off-campus accommodation. So when looking for uni accommodations, you have to keep in mind certain facility advantages and certain disadvantages. Constraint of space, extra expense because the rent is a little expensive than usual. Good thing about uni accommodation is that you get a lot of furniture in your room. You don't have to spend any money on that. You sometimes have events organized by your on-campus accommodation. There are certain shared facilities which actually helps you to network. So if you're actually coming to Australia and if you want to have your accommodation secured for the first 6 months, I would suggest you to rent out a uni accommodation, on-campus accommodation for 6 months only. You will get an idea of how much you like it, and later you can extend your lease if you are able to decide it quickly, because the waiting list is very long. I would highly suggest, if you have to take a decision, take it within like 1 to 3 weeks. If not, then start looking for a new accommodation soon. I personally would suggest that don't go for on-campus accommodations unless you really want to exploit all university facilities. Next up I'm going to talk about is private rental accommodations. These are all the websites that you can actually explore and then book your inspection times and dates. So these accommodations get a shitload of applications. You have to understand that the competition in Australia to get a private rental accommodation is very high. If your fellow applicants are showing that they are getting paid a lot higher than what you are getting paid, so there is a high chance that you will be rejected in a lot of spaces. So people actually start looking for it 2 to 3 months in advance. Especially if you're looking in city, there's a lot of competition. For these accommodations, you have to remember that you have to write excellent cover letter, you have to have good rental history, you have to provide with authentic ID cards. If you're 3 people, make sure that all of you are applying in the same motive. It matters a lot. Another tip when you are actually going for inspections for such properties, that you have a conversation with the agent and suggest them that they should look into your application well, because we are eager in this property. Also ask them if the price point is something where the owner of the house will negotiate, and if that's the case, you suggest a higher price point, the application of yours be accepted smoothly and will be given first priority. Because a lot of times I have experienced that if it is $350 a week, you are happy to give $370 a week, and maybe your application is given first priority. But there are different angles to this. It also depends upon how much is your payslip and stuff. If you're someone who is just landing in Melbourne, if you still don't have any house in your hand, what you can do is you can look for Facebook marketplaces ads. A lot of people actually put out short-term living spaces. You can still use the property for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month, 2 months, whatever. Sometimes what happens is people actually share same room. You might not get your share of lease name. So what happens in that case is you are subletted. You don't get a lot of rights in that. You actually don't have any rights in that. Again, there's a risk of security and genuinity of the person. When looking for lease, also be flexible with the move-in date. You will have to bear the rent of those 15 days extra, but you don't want to miss out on the property that is actually good for you. Sometimes when you have to book such properties, I would recommend you to pay your bond and rent at the same time, because sometimes what happens is the other applicants rent of 3 months, 6 months, and these conditions should not let your application go to bin. You don't go with any random person or any random housemate and give your bond. Maybe they are going to scam you, so don't go and give your bond to anyone but the agency's actual bank details. For student accommodation, you have to remember that there are a lot of options here in Australia. Example, flatmates, igloo, university living, escape student housing accommodation, Amber, Gumtree, homestay.com, Unilodge. So these are all the spaces where you can find an accommodation as a student 100%. But if you're not a student, then which accommodations can you still apply, which are a part of student accommodation, are flatmates, Unilodge, Gumtree. You will get mostly studio apartments or a very tiny apartment. But these apartments actually help you to socialize, network. There are a lot of facilities that they give, like security, study spaces, games lounge, communal lodge, laundry, sky lounge, cinema, tours and experiences. So if you plan to use their facilities and if you want to spend that much, you will be happy to have these all facilities in your vicinity. Know that they don't always provide meals unless it's like a hostel stay. They will have common kitchen areas where there are stoves for everyone and some cabinets for everyone to store your things. So be aware of these constraints and then only book your properties. Also, if you're someone who is very reserved about veg, non-veg options and people who eat different types of food, here in Australia there's nothing of that sort. It's a mixed population in one space. You cannot guarantee who cooks what in the kitchen. There is no restriction, and you can't actually ask someone to not do anything. So you have to be comfortable with this fact. There are girl accommodations, but they are very rare. I have never faced an issue with my accommodations, but we don't have a lot of security issues. When you are trying to lease the property, before moving your stuff, I know whatever the rush, but before you move in your stuff, make sure you take photos of your property. If you find any carpet with stain, leakage, or something is drilled, you please make sure to take photos of it, because later landlords are very weird sometimes. To be rest assured that you have given back the property as is, you have to make sure that you click photos of your property in advance. After leaving also, you should take photos, because once you leave the property, the landlord pays you back your bond in few weeks. So you should be able to produce any evidence if they are accusing of any kind of damage done to the property. When you are renting out on real estate or domain, you might get facilities like pools, gyms, game lounges, or any kind of accessibility. Mostly these are the city accommodations, which are like high-rise buildings and have lifts, and they give gardens and jogging tracks and all those things that you want to have as a luxury apartment, but they are a little pricey. You have to decide if you want to use those things. Also, when you're renting these houses, be sure that you are checking locks in the house. There are sometimes no locks on the toilet doors or something, because my first house did not have a lock-in toilet, so we literally had to knock and go in, which is not very common for us. So we had those mishaps where we actually entered without knowing. You should also check the neighborhood areas. Street lights. At night, lot of streets really don't have light. I think it will be like a big street, but it will have just one light. But for anyone who is scared, especially during Halloween, when everyone actually puts out weird hangings and spiders, webs, ghosts, and all those kind of things, you're so scared, because I have had that experience when during Halloween I was scared to leave my house for my morning shifts and come late at night from my evening shifts. Also, another thing, when you're renting out these properties, look out if it's an old construction or a new construction, because in old constructions they mostly have gas stoves, but in new constructions they have induction. There are a lot of maintenance issues and repairs. There can be leakages like I had in my previous house, which was old house. There are issues of insects coming in, mosquitoes, or spiders. Spiders are horrible. They are very scary. So yeah, these are the issues with the old houses, but with the new houses, it's more advanced. You will get less bills, because the structure, everything that is installed in those houses is new. Now, taking in consideration homestays, you can rent out a room in a family house where family lives in one part of the house, and you're given a small part of the house with shared bathroom, toilet, or it will be like a private toilet for you. Advantage of this house is you will never be alone. There will be people in the house. Disadvantage of this house is in kitchen you will have to follow strict rules. You have to clean everything on time. You can't misuse the property. You can't invite friends at any given time. You can't party in the house. But this house is quite safe because people are good here. Talking about price point, student accommodations expensive, private accommodations okayish, homestays come after private accommodations, and temporary housing is expensive again. No matter you have a house, you don't have a house, you don't have to panic. Even if you have friends, family here, if you're uncomfortable to live with them, book yourself an Airbnb, live in that shared Airbnb for few weeks. I would suggest not more than 2 weeks. The moment you land in this country, you have to start finding accommodations. From India, you can directly start applying for inspection dates, times, everything. That when you will come here, you immediately do the inspections and you do the applications. So it shouldn't take you more than a month to receive confirmation. Here are basic tips for you guys. So if you want to save up on money, please don't rent studio apartments where there's no one to talk to. It becomes very lonely eventually also. Another tip, if you join college, uni, whatever, make friends. Make friends of your own vibe, so that 6 months down the line, you can ask that friend if you want to rent a house with me. So here is my story. My current house is my third house. Currently, I am paying $1,000 per month for this house, including bills. My bond is equal to 1 month's rent. My previous house was in Hawthorne and I was paying $869 per month, excluding bills. I was paying $869 as my bond as well. And my first house, how did I find that house? So when I came to Australia, my friend was here and I was living in her room for 18 days. Eventually I got a room in the same house and I moved in that room. So that house was around, I think, $700 per month with $560 as my bond. I have put in some money for my furniture like bed, table, chair, lamp, and a chest of drawers for my basic storage. But some houses do come with furniture, so don't always spend it. But my second house did not have it, that's why I had to purchase it. In my current house, I don't need all these things, so I have dismantled them and kept it under my bed. I guess the video is too long, but I wanted to cover all these points because they are very important. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I won't be able to help you in finding a house, but I can surely give you tips if you're looking for any. If you have any suggestions for next video, please put that in the comments. I am more than happy to do that because this was the video that one of you subscribers actually told me to do. So here I am with the video and I'll see you in my next one. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe my video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.